Aren't we tired of this confusion? Constantly asking if it will ever end for us? But we really have to ask ourselves if we even have the will to know, to ever possibly see this clearly. Well, while we venture into the dark, let me keep you warm and let my essence guide our way. For if you heed my call and look out for me, I can set you free and take your soul to enlightenment. I'll neither cast you in cold nor bury you in bones, for this truth will rest no longer. I'll take you home to see the moonlit truth. So if you let me dance with you in the dark, I promise you won't fall apart as we dissect the meaning of eternal dream. Oh, hi everybody! I'm here today to talk to you about Eternal Dream. A wonderful little ditty. And before you ask, no, I'm not drinking. I don't drink. Went out earlier, got myself a nice Coke here to refresh the throat. Anywho, because this is a more live video, I have a script for me, so don't judge me for reading off a script, alright? You try memorizing 6 pages of writing, and then we'll talk, alright? But for now, let me just pull out my script. With that said, thank you very much for watching, and please enjoy. And yes, I am dressed as it. This was last year's Halloween costume, and I thought, why not? It's in style. Oh, and before I forget, happy birthday, Murder Drones. Right, and before we begin, I need to bring over the board. Alrighty then, here we are with the lyrics of Eternal Dream written out beautifully. I got a whiteboard recently, so might as well put it to use, eh? Could I get any more unoriginal?
There's a 50-year-old man at the back of the boat, like...
Anywho, screw you. Well, these arms kind of suck, but we ball. Before we get into the interpretations, I'll first read you out the lyrics to Eternal Dream. I am tired of this dream. Will it ever end for me? I don't have the will to know. Can you help me see? Let my body keep you warm. Let my essence be your breeze. Can you hear me calling? Please look out for me. Can you set me free? Will you take my soul away? Casting me in cold, bury me in bones, rest eternally. Will you take me home? Can we see the moon again? Dancing in the dark till we fall apart, I can't end this dream. And with that, let us continue into the interpretations. To start off, we have to discuss what many think is a song about V, as well. With that said, the first stanza could be a statement from V. No. Fat head. Ooh, there you go. She doesn't want to stay put. What can I say? The first stanza could be a statement from V that she is tired of lamenting over her loss of N. Her N. Her dream. She is asking if her pain will ever end and that she doesn't have the will needed. And if she could just gain help in the form of strength from her friends to endure her pain. In the second stanza, V realizes that instead of wallowing in a relationship lost, she can instead fight for the connections she has now. Those being with N, Uzi, Jay, Tessa, who at this point, she's unaware of sin, and Lizzie. Which I'm realizing now, I spelled her name wrong in the script. What was 2 years ago me thinking? She can keep the team warm with her banter and let her essence be the breeze her team needs in order to survive whatever onslaught they face. In the third stanza, V asks if she can truly be liberated of her agony and envy, and for her friends to aid her in her time of need. Then we get the lines that imply that to truly be free of her torment, V thinks she needs to be cast in cold and buried in bones and allowed to rest eternally. She thinks that death is the solution, which is both a sad and chilling thought. Finally, in the fourth stanza, V turns her attitude more positively, tentatively asking if she can go home to Elliott Manor and see her symbol of eternal life and love. And she's asking if she can go back in time to see Hermood again. Just one last time. Although, as stated in the various ship's murder drone sales, Newsy, V knows that he's no longer Hermood, he's Uzi's. So in a moment of desperation, where she knows not everyone can live, she takes a chance in the dark and chooses to fall apart for the sake of N. V knows she can't end her dream. She'll always have that want, nay need, for her N, but she knows it's impossible to achieve. That's what makes her sacrifice all the more heart-wrenching. Despite her envy and desperation to go back to better times, she fights for what's now. She fights for N and Uzi. All in all, the V's Lament interpretation of Eternal Dream begets a story of a girl who is lovesick and in need of mental aid. Because of her loss and envy, she spirals down a hole of misery, depression, and horrid thoughts. While she is able to overcome her grief, she learns that it will always be a part of her, and that's okay. She's also helped by the warmth and friendship of N and Uzi. This sends the message that, while loss and trauma are things to be overcome, we should acknowledge that they are a part of us, and that despite the bad memories, we've ultimately come out stronger for it. Hopefully, V can serve as a testament to overcoming the seemingly insurpassable. Now, we get the actual heartbreaker that is envy. In the first stanza, we get the same meaning as V's Lament, except this time, she has a different audience. A direct audience. Her moon. And this time, he joins in. As they both ask if the other can help them see. V's asking N for an explanation, to help her see why he would betray her in such a way. N, in his good nature, asks this to try and see where V is coming from, for he, like a lot of us, has forgotten his dream. In the second stanza, N proposes to V that he can still comfort her, keep her warm, invigorate her with his breeze. But these appeals ring flat, for one key reason. N means these things as a friend. During the pilot, he might have meant this in a way as to try and woo over V. But now, with Uzi, he means this to merely comfort his good friend. But V doesn't see that as good enough, and belts to V to please look out for him, that he can pull her out of her slump. And V retaliates by yelling at N to please look out for her, not as a colleague, not as a friend, but as what she was. She wants N to look out for her in his memory, to dig deep down and look for her. To remember her for what she was, to love her once more. In the third stanza, V asks if, perhaps, N could set her free from her torment and take her soul away, sweeping her off her feet and becoming hers once more. N contrasts by saying that all V is doing to him is proving how unfit she is for him. All she does to his comfort and kindness is cast a cold shoulder to him and bury him with her hateful words. But he doesn't care, as he'll still help her regardless. The final line is sung by both N and V. While N sings this to implore V to let it rest, V declares that she understands that's what her emotions will inevitably have to do. Finally, in the fourth stanza, V asked N to, one last time, just one last time, take her home to see the moon again. Her moon. To just once more see the man she fell in love with. N replies to her that while he vows to guide her in the dark till the day he dies, he can neither fulfill her dream, for he remembers not how to be V's moon, nor end it. And it deeply pains him to say that he failed. So he apologizes. He apologizes for both his failure and her help, as well as for effectively killing their relationship, even though it's no fault of his own. V accepts his apology and relents to end the same sentiment. The pain is just too much. But maybe, having recognized that fact, maybe instead of living her life with N, maybe she can give her life for N. In summation, the N's apology to V interpretation of Eternal Dream depicts the story of a bitter lover and her amnesiac ex. She snaps him with her icy, cold words, asking why, oh why? Couldn't things just go back to how they were? Back when she was a timid girl. Back when N was her lovable goofball. And while V has changed drastically since then, N has persisted, being kind and giving V support in spite of her actions. N realizes that he can't help V because she'll always see him as how he was, never how he is. N apologizes to V for their relationship of a forgotten past. V accepts his apology and gives her life for him as her way of thanks. This teaches us that even though we are hurt and feel betrayed by those we love, if we can't move on from them and instead let it fester within, we will rot to our core and end up being no better than those who wronged us. But due to N's special case, this also teaches us that we need to recognize when we ourselves are letting our emotions get the better of our judgment and not use those who had no control or hand in our grief as a channel for our anger. I hope that both N and V no longer have to suffer from the emotional turmoil brought upon by the torture of sin. I don't know about you, but I'm thirsty as hell. Cheers, this is really good. Not Spawn, but I love me a good Coca-Cola. Now let's talk about the character who actually is singing the song. Kinda. We'll get to that later. In the first stanza, Uzi sings that she is tired of this dream. Nightmare, really, of all the events thus far. She then asks if the transformations, the fear, the death will ever end for her. She relents that she has not the will to know, for all this trauma has become insurmountable for her. However, like V, Uzi calls out to N to help her see her way out of her situation. In the second stanza, Uzi tries to appeal to N by telling him that she wants to keep him warm and let her essence be his breeze. However, she feels as though her pleas are falling upon deaf ears, asking N if he can hear her calling and to please, oh please, look out for her. In the third stanza, due to Uzi doubting if N truly loves her for her, she uncertainly asks if he can truly set her free of her pain and fear, if he can truly swipe her soul off of its feet. Uzi not only fears what's happening to herself now, but also fears if N will eventually cast her to the wayside and bury her once he, in her eyes, inevitably abandons her like all the other people in her life. She yells out to N that if he's just gonna leave her like everyone else did, to just break her heart now, rather than later, figuring death to be sweeter than whatever bitter end will be wrought by that false inevitability. In the final stanza, Uzi remembers the events at the prom and Cabin Fever Labs. She remembers how N treated her with so much respect, protected her from all harm, and made a covenant with her to always be by her side. Her tone switches when she asks if N can instead take her home so that she can live with her moon. Like V, Uzi sees N as her symbol of everlasting love and life. The man who'll dance with her even in the darkest of moments, even when his life is at stake. However, that uncertainty creeps back in when she sorrowfully relents and she can't end this nightmare. All in all, the Uzi's Terror interpretation of Eternal Dream details the story of a girl who's been transformed by a virus unknown to her, experienced so much horror, and abandoned by all. She projects that insecurity on the man who loves her, belting to him if he really, truly loves her, or if he'll just leave like all the rest. But then she remembers his kindness and sacrifice, and realizes him to be her light and the end of her never-ending tunnel. She knows she can't force this hell of a nightmare to end, and that terrifies her. But at least she has N by her side. This shows us that we are unable to stop those uncertain, horrific times we go through at will. We just have to tough it out and come out stronger for it. However, we don't have to go it alone. Let's hope that Uzi no longer has to feel that same fear in the future. Before we head into this next interpretation, as a brief preface, almost this whole video was scripted before the release of episode 7. All I had was the beginning of the end. That's how long this has taken. Anywho, the original interpretation was grief over Uzi. However, I've since changed my belief to be grief over V. With that said, now we transition into our favorite boy. The one I'm dressed as, serial designation N. In the first stanza, N, like the two before him, is tired of this feeling of hopelessness and agony. He wonders if he could ever possibly get over the death of V. N doesn't have the will to carry on or even accept it. He then asks V, wherever she is, to please let him come to terms with it and see clearly once more. He denies the tragedy that plagues him. In the second stanza, N remembers V's somber sacrifice. Oh, how he wishes he could have done something, anything different. His anger grows at himself for being so worthless at a prime time of need. Now all he wishes he can do is maybe prep for the worst by finding her body and saying that he'll keep her cold body warm and how he'd invigorate her with his breeze. But what if she stayed alive? If she is out there somewhere? He pleads to her to just please hold on. She just couldn't have succumbed to the Sentinels. Could she have? Can she hear his calls? Is she still there? N pleaded to V to not sacrifice herself for him, and now pleads to her to look out for him because he needed her. Nay, needs her still. He bargains to keep his former love. I love that. while merely an echo in his mind, he still holds dear. The third stanza shows N's depression following his failure to save and call out to V. He asks if maybe she can take him with her, set him free, take his soul away, so he can find solace in being cast in cold, buried in bones, to rest eternally. Put simply, he feels he deserves to die for his failures. The final stanza is N accepting that V is truly gone. All he wishes now is to cherish the memories he had with V, of them at the manor, when the two of them shared their first spark, when he'd care for V, when no one else would, when they held each other during the catastrophe that permanently ripped them apart. He can't end this dream, but he can damn well try to save what's left of it. Overall, the N's grief interpretation of Eternal Dream details the story of a man who undergoes all 5 stages of grief whilst mourning his old, forgotten flame. N's self-worth after V's sacrifice plummets to its lowest point, which isn't helped by the top of episode 7. He feels responsible for all the wrong his friends face and feels like the only apt reparation is his life. But he overcomes his depression and allows himself peace by relishing in the cherished memories made. To have had, experienced, and lost is much better than to have never felt those emotions at all. One must imagine N happy. Now on to my personal favorite reading, the duet. In the first stanza, Uzi has the same sentiment as she did solo. However, her hurt is countered by N joining in. While she asks N for help in seeing light in any situation, N asks for her to help him see what's truly wrong, so he can do his best to support both her physical and mental state. N tells her to let him keep her warm with his embrace and let him lift up her spirits high. N cares for Uzi. In the second stanza, N promises to Uzi that he will keep her warm and carry her anywhere they go. He asks if she can hear him, if his words reach her heart. Uzi chimes in during, "Please look out for me." N says this as a further confirmation of his devotion, and Uzi says this as a pleading for N to never leave her side. In the third stanza, Uzi is still hesitant. She's never loved like this before. She's never felt loved like this before. She asks N if he can truly set her free from her solitude and take her soul away to bliss. N responds that, no matter the trials, he'll suffer through the cold and put his life on the line to be by her side. Till death do they part. And even then, may they be buried together. In the final stanza, Uzi asks N if he can take her to a place she's never felt like she's had before. To Uzi, N is what makes a place she resides in home. She wants to spend her life staring at the stars with her moon. N replies, reconfirming that he'll do everything in his power to always dance with her, just like at prom. Both relay that they can't end this dream, but not because they physically can't. They probably could if they wanted to, but that's the key. The pair emotionally cannot. They can't bring themselves to end what they have. The two need each other. So to separate would be poison. With that said, Uzi, Solace, and N is an interpretation rich for the newsy shippers in the fandom, such as myself. It paints the picture of two love-struck drones who have never known love like they do now. Despite the horrors they face, the two vow to never leave each other's sides. They can't end their dream because they can't live without it. They can't live without their better halves. Finally, we have the fact that Eternal Dream is actually played diegetically in episode 6. Which is weird because that means that this song not only exists in our universe, but theirs too. Again, it's odd to say the least. And frankly, I don't know, man. Maybe Elsie Lovelock exists in canon in Murder Drones, and she recorded this song on Earth, and it became super duper big. Like, intergalactically big. One could say it went star platinum. I'm not a JoJo fan, I swear to God. Now we get to the final call. Which interpretation is right? While I would say that all are right due to the vernacular and ambiguous nature of Eternal Dream, that simply isn't true. Around the time episode 6 released, AJ Disperito posted about the song on his Instagram. In his post, critically, he writes, quote, "Sung by the wonderfully talented Elsie Lovelock," and in parentheses, not as Uzi in this one by the way, with a laughing emoji. So that automatically rules out any interpretations with Uzi involved.
Hey all, Editing Soup here. I just wanted to say that I completely forgot about Eternal Destroyer as a V song as a whole. Overall, just the mere existence of it playing whenever we see V's comeback basically proves that Eternal Dream itself is a V-centered song. With that said, let's continue on.
Furthermore, with the advent of the official MD Dutch dub, we finally have Nola Klopp's rendition of Eternal Dream, except in Dutch. While the original was written by AJ, the Dutch version is translated by Nola herself, which, if you see where I'm going with this, helps us finally see into what the voice actress herself believes of her character. And with that, I also... Full turn. Oh, it's a little... I erased it a little bit. Hold on. This is hard to write in these, alright? Shut up. Anywho... Oh, wait. Crap. Dang, I was sloppy. But yeah, see, I had foresight. Gotta write down the Dutch lyrics as well. Well, they're translated, so they're still in English, but the translated Dutch lyrics. The full translated lyrics are... This dream is over for me. Is the end near yet? I lack the will to carry on. Help me to be free. And my body keeps you warm. In your heart is where I stay. Do you hear my voice calling? Please look out for me. Just let me go now. Take my soul far away from here. Shut me in the cold. Bury me in gray. Rest an eternity. Take me to my home. I would love to see the moon again. Dancing in the night. Brought to our end. Will my dream get an ending? Now, while this may seem like a small thing to take into account, this gives a whole new perspective on the song's meaning. Of course, I'm implying that the first interpretation discussed, V's Lament, is the correct option. For an interpretation of these Dutch lyrics, in the first stanza, V feels that her dream is over. N is no longer hers. She wonders if her end is near. She wishes it would not take long. Same as before, her depression tanks her will. These lyrics actually give me a perspective I didn't realize before. V hopes that her sacrifice can set her free from the suffering of the loss of her moon. In the second stanza, V understands that she is what helps to drive N forward. In his heart, she forever stays, and she's grateful for that. Does he yet hear her voice? She asks that he never forgets her. V wants to stay in his heart, even if she can't stay in his life. And even if she can't be his heart. In the third stanza, V asks N to let her do this. To let her go. To free her soul of said sorrow. To cast her away and leave her buried. In the final stanza, V reminisces on her time with N in the manor. She wishes she could be with him again. However, she has reached an end. And with that, she wonders if N, her moon, her dream will get one too. Only, let his end be a happy one. Eternal Dream is a beautiful song from a beautiful show, and I've been sitting on this idea for roughly 2 years now. I actually came up with it during the production of Newsy. Of course, my thoughts have changed over the years on what the actual meaning of the song was. Ultimately, I'm glad I finally finished this video. It was a dream, pun intended. Now, while this whole video has been majority doom and gloom, due to the release of Fight Till I'm Good Enough by the Living Tombstone, we see V actually get a happy ending. At the end of the music video, or episode 9 as many fans now call it, after we see V embrace Sparky, which goes to show she's finally letting her emotions show, we see V overlooking a hugging N and Uzi in the sky, where she smiles. Although she knows she can't be with N, I hope that she may be able to see and guide her moon with that same smile, always and forever. And with that, do the YouTuber things, like, comment, subscribe, God bless, and cheers to everything you do. And especially so to Serial Designation V, caretaker of the Eternal Dream.
Uzi, I trust you.
V, please!
Well, thank you. It was an honor.
Can you set me free?